All right, everybody. Really quick before the episode starts, I just wanted to say, we just wanted to say that our first single for the second project comes out tomorrow, May 30th. It's called Make a Scene, as Alex is doing right now. Go check it out. We're really excited about it. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Stadium Drive, the podcast. My name is Jeff, and this is Alex. We are a folk duo out of Fort Dodge, Iowa. And Stadium Drive, the podcast, is a 10-episode series where we're walking through the first project that we made back in 2024, or released in 2024. Going back through song by song, talking about how the song was made, maybe some cool gear, and any fun stories behind the lyrics or behind playing it live. And today we're on episode 4. We're talking about the song Rivertown. This, to me, is the part in the record where we go from primarily acoustics, bass, drum, like this very just core folk Americana sound, and we start to like grow the world a little bit.
Definitely.
With some new instruments.
Definitely. It's almost like you could liken it to the Hobbit's journey out of Hobbiton. It's like start very rustic and folksy, and all of a sudden now you're starting to see new landscapes.
Yeah.
Or soundscapes in this case.
Sure. Yeah, and actually, as a little treat, I think later in the episode we're going to pull in our violin player. So we buried the lead. The new landscape, the new soundscape is this is the first and actually only song on the record where there's another there is a piece that was not done by either Alex or I. The whole record was literally done by the two of us in this room.
Every last instrument is one of our dumb butts doing it.
Yeah, everything was basically created by us, and so this is the only track on the first project that was done by a featured artist, Claudia. She came in, and actually I wasn't there. Can you talk a little bit about like when she came into the studio?
I'd worked with her before, so it was pretty routine. You know, she's a class act. We'd sent her the song beforehand, so she definitely had a few things worked up, and I upon hearing it the first time, I kind of knew she was in the right place. I maybe gave her a few notes, and I think I might have done a little bit of tweaking after the fact, but she was rock solid. She always has been. If you ever need violin, give her a call. She's solid.
Yeah. Before we pull in our conversation with Claudia, what's kind of cool is like, and actually I'm gonna get your thoughts on this. I'll just kind of give a little bit of an overview of like the idea behind the song, I guess. Rivertown, it's actually not about Fort Dodge, even though we are kind of a rural town.
I really thought you were going to say it's actually not about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, honestly it could be. I do mention my Subaru Outback, but I don't know. Maybe Peter Jackson rode in a Subaru Outback.
I feel like that's probably what Boromir would have driven.
Yeah. Okay. But it's not about, like I think the kind of like the premier river towns here in Iowa would be like, I mean, I consider Fort Dodge a river town, Sioux City, Dubuque, Des Moines. This is actually a song about Dubuque. And yeah, it's just kind of a very nostalgic song about someone you once knew, and maybe time goes by and you just maybe don't know them as much, or maybe that moment where you feel the need or the desire to like reach out to someone you haven't talked to in a while. And so kind of that it kind of came to me. I was literally driving on the road, so there's that lyric about like missing your exit. You're kind of like lost in thought, and so you miss your exit sign, and kind of and so it literally was kind of, I was on Highway 20 just and it sort of just came to me. But anyway, so that's kind of what it's about. I'm kind of curious from your end, like
before you ask me a question, I actually have a question for you.
Okay.
Knowing all that, how do you get from thinking of so many like these great Iowa river towns to name dropping places like Athens and St. Francis? I would like to know more about that. I'm sure the listener would too.
Yeah. So so the person or the situation in particular that this song is about had to do with a really, really good friend of mine that we went on a study abroad trip together. And so the I think the lyric is, "You left your heart out somewhere
Mhm.
east of Athens."
Mhm.
There was this really, really great kind of place where we stayed in the in the vicinity of Athens, where it's kind of like, um, I don't know, just like really, really, really great conversations happened there, and so like we left our heart there, almost
Mhm.
like that moment can't be like replicated. It's almost like left
Yeah.
there. Um, and then St. Francis, so that's kind of a pull back to, um, kind of my roots, like in the Christian faith.
Choir boy.
Um,
Yes, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and like the prayer of Saint Francis is,
Mhm.
Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where
Mhm.
there's hatred, let me sow love, injury, pardon. And so I would always kind of say that prayer to sort of, if I was in kind of a like maybe a chaotic headspace, to say like you know what, like just make me an instrument of your peace.
Mhm.
Like a lot of like shit is happening in the universe.
Mhm.
And so like it was kind of always a prayer that I would say to just kind of like center up. So it
Nice.
in that headspace, and then
Mhm.
driving down the road and kind of like really thinking about this person, where I'm like,
Mhm.
and there's a lot more, story behind it, but basically the gist of it is, you're that moment where you're like, you want to reach out to that person because
Mhm.
it's been so long,
Yeah.
but it's like, is it the correct thing? Like, what would I even say if I reached out to
Right.
that person? Like,
Mhm.
it's been so long. Is it dumb if I like
Mhm.
reach out?
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, it's very. Uh, and so yeah, the third verse literally goes, um, uh, "You live just outside that river town. Um, like ever since the first snow flies, you don't want no one around." It's kind
Mhm.
of like this thing of like, recognizing someone's kind of turned inward and
Mhm.
being like, I don't want to disrupt, but I also
Mhm.
want to make that connection.
Yeah.
But yeah, but anyways, I'm always curious. Like I know we mentioned this in one of the first episodes about like me bringing songs to
Mhm.
you, and like your thought process of like it comes to you and maybe like like a work in progress, let's say, maybe not
Right.
an unfinished piece,
Mhm.
but how is that like on this tune? But also now bringing in a third person
Mhm.
that's also kind of tangential to the song. Like,
Mhm.
was there a moment where you? Because again, I wasn't here. Where
Yeah.
you had to be like, so here's kind of the song, here's what we're going for, or like what?
No, again, and I really didn't feel like I had to do much of that with Claudia at all. I felt like she had a solid idea going in, and there was maybe a little bit of like, hey, maybe you finish that phrase like this instead of like that. Um, some very minor detail work, if I remember correctly. But no, she was so
Mhm,
easy to work with. In terms of getting this song from you for the first time, I I I thought it was quite enjoyable. Again, another very folksy, kind of just like pretty straight up and down thing. I think this was one where I did almost nothing to change the original form that you brought it
mhm.
to me with. This one was pretty clean up and down from the jump.
I guess
We
be
both just knew it needed something big for this middle section before the last verse, and I think violin was definitely the way to go.
oh, for sure. Um, I guess in general, like beyond like the sonic part of it, like because you're
Mhm.
kind of you're receiving these pieces that I kind of primarily kind
Mhm.
of crafted, and does it is it part of your process working on these songs to need or even want to know like what the song is kind of about, or or are you more so like you're singing the words and I don't even know what you're saying, but it kind
Well,
of, or maybe it comes later.
well, I feel like I'm a bit. I love my lyrics and I love my poetry and stuff. I feel like you and I go back long enough and know each other well enough that often like you don't need to explain to me the exact circumstances of every song you've written. I get the where you're coming from. I think for me the more important thing is like making sure that I realize the musical vision the same way you are envisioning it. And if the vocals kind of call for like a grander sense of instrumentation, then that's what needs to happen. Or if the lyrics call for that, rather. And this song just felt like it needed elements that made you feel like you were traveling the countryside, and so a little bit of electric guitar, a little bit of slide pedal steel type stuff, and then the violin, of course,
Mhm.
just really, at least to me, instantly make it feel more um, cinematic. I think would be a word.
That's a great point. And actually, I forgot. This is probably the first one in the sequence that
Mhm.
where the electric guitar is made a.
Yep. Yep.
And I know we'll talk more about kind of your pedal setup,
Hmm.
in a later episode. But yeah, so
And we kept everything relatively simple. Pedals were used, gadgets were used, but
mm,
I think, at the end of the day, this record was about trying to keep everything as raw and kind of just raw equipment as possible.
sure.
Simple equipment.
Yeah, and if you haven't listened to it, or if you haven't listened to it in a while, you
Mhm.
should go back and listen because again, I mean, Claudia's performance is phenomenal. We literally just got a
Mhm.
message on social media, literally like 4 days ago,
Mhm.
from a gentleman in our music community who, had been going back and just pointed out specifically Claudia's performance and
Mhm.
how to your point, just that cinematic, like it kind of starts to lift this project and I think what we're going to get to
Mhm.
in the rest of these episodes is how the the whole project has sort of this arc
Mhm.
and we're just getting to the point where the we're about to start climbing
Mhm.
into the, like some really really fun sonic things
Definitely.
um but yeah, cool.
Mhm. We
I
should
guess
throw it to Claudia,
I was gonna
probably.
say with
Yeah.
that, check out our conversation with Claudia.
We'll be right back with you.
Cool. Well, Claudia, thanks for joining us. Uh, First of all, I have to say I get so many compliments on this song. I think people get 4 songs into the record, and all of a sudden, this new voice comes in that you haven't heard yet. And obviously, it takes a different tone from the previous songs. It's the first time that we go from this, like, kind of brighter, like, folk sound to all of a sudden we're getting some of these, like, darker tones. And so I just had to say, first of all, like, you get so many shout outs, and I always say, yeah, our good friend Claudia, she came in, she was an absolute pro, she wrecked it. So thanks for being here and thanks for being on the track.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And I was super honored to be asked to be a part of it. I know that's something it's your artwork, so to be a part of that is huge to me. So I really appreciate the opportunity.
Can you talk before we get into the song? Can you talk a little bit about just like, you don't have to give like your life story, but like you picking up the fiddle, like you kind of um getting to the point where you are now, where you're playing in like a handful of contemporary like country projects, and just kind of how you came to start the fiddle.
Yeah, so I actually kind of had an non-traditional way of starting. So I took private lessons starting in the 5th grade. There was a medical doctor here in the town where I grew up that played violin for fun and gave lessons to kids for like $5 for an hour-long lesson.
Wow.
So yeah, she was the best, and she's still to this day one of my biggest supporters. So took private lessons through her through middle school and high school. Started kind of jumping into the orchestra realm in my high school years. There was not an orchestra in Denison here where I grew up. So I didn't really get the opportunity to be in one other than All State. So auditioned for All State my sophomore year and got in. And that was kind of the like, oh, maybe I'm okay at this. So kind of started the trajectory of wanting to do more music. From there, again, the long story short is I went to Iowa State for music education, and violin was my primary instrument. So very much so classically trained from that point on. But because my beginning years weren't in the orchestra setting, I still learned from the same material, I guess, as far as classical, but it just wasn't quite as structured as what maybe it would have been in the school setting. So that kind of opened up my mind to different avenues of playing. I played a lot in church, which there's not written violin parts for church music generally. So starting from a young age, had to just kind of play what sounded right in my head. So I'm appreciative of that, opportunity as different as it was. It just, yeah, started my ear early on, I guess, just trying to figure out what sounded okay with music that was already there. So once I was in college, I started having a couple opportunities to record in studio. Recorded on a couple albums over in the Des Moines and Ames area. Um, in my college years, and then kind of took a break. I don't want to say take a break, but I didn't really have opportunities once I graduated college to jump on um, any records or anything like that until started stepping into the Fort Dodge scene and playing in some country bands and doing that, and met you guys. So yeah, so that's kind of, and then you guys were the first one I think in maybe 8 years that I was on any sort of recorded projects. So So yeah, that's kind of my backstory of how I got there.
So, how did you get into the Fort Dodge scene? And like, was it kind of a different muscle to go from being like kind of the classically trained, like almost like church musician to going to like these high powered country bands, like opening up
Yeah.
for giant national acts?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess my first experience kind of with that was before the Fort Dodge scene anyways. In high school, I had three of my friends. We kind of put together like a little bluegrass country thing. Played a few shows, but nothing crazy, but I enjoyed it. And then in college, I got to hop in with Royce John's band.
Great dude. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I got to be, I think, on his first record. I'm somewhere on there, playing a little bit of fiddle. I'd actually gotten connected with a studio in Boone through a heavy metal band. So that was my first violin recording experience. Got a good connection there with the studio.
Script below, guys. We dug it up just for you.
Yeah. who who would have thought? Who would have thought?
I was gonna say,
Not me.
noticed-
No.
Yeah. You noticed that she didn't say the name of the project. Yeah.
No, it's the band. The band is called Through the Darkness, and they have some great music out there. So you definitely go
That's
give it a
awesome.
listen. Not not exactly on brand for me, but totally appreciate the work that they do also. And that was an awesome experience and made me step outside my comfort zone. So that was good. But it connected me with the studio there. Got kind of tied in with Royce Johns for a brief stint, like a year. I got to play in his band when he first started one. And that was awesome. So that was definitely the first, like, okay, this is the kind of music I like doing. I want to do this. Graduated from college though, and then he was in Des Moines, focusing more on his solo career as he is still now. So it kind of, and I was focused on career work and all of that. So took a step away kind of from the band scene, but definitely missed it. Well, then I'd seen on one of the Facebook music pages, uh, like Musicians of Iowa or something, somebody had posted looking for a female vocalist for a band out of Fort Dodge, and they opened for all these national acts and whatnot. So I responded to that post and went ahead and auditioned for that role, and got in with Salty View and Renegade Soul through that for a couple years, which is a great experience, and definitely a lot of growth came through those years. So yeah, that's kind of how I stepped into the Fort Dodge music scene. The biggest challenge for me has been the improvising side of things, or the fiddle, like fiddle itself. The style is so different. The way we bow is so different from the classical style. And that's something I'm continually working on. I still take fiddle lessons and things of that nature. I'll be a lifelong learner. That's just kind of my personality, but it's definitely something I'm still growing into. Um, and just knowing, like, as far as improvising, like structure, like a song, what the song structure, and then what fits into that, but then also being okay with stepping outside of what rigidly fits into that. So tapping into like that music theory knowledge that I have from college is part of the process too. So yeah.
If I may interject, I think whatever you would brand your style of fiddle, it worked out perfectly for this song because this song did not need like fiddle in the country or bluegrass sense. It's
Right.
almost needed more of like a movie score soundtrack or like a Lord of the Rings kind of very like
Yeah.
yeah, not something choppy and kind of
Melodic.
for lack of a better word, hillbilly.
Redneck.
It needed like a touch of sophistication and whatever wherever you landed in that kind of pie chart of fiddle to violin, I think it's perfect for our song at least.
And the way,
Yeah.
actually, that's a great segue into the actual track. And we're gonna keep complimenting you, and you're just gonna have to
I'll
let.
have to take it. Yeah, yeah.
You
You put a lot of makeup on, so I'll see you blushing, and
you can't.
I like the cringe. I'm cringing
yeah,
so
or
much.
Lincoln's gonna have to edit it out in post, and that's really
I
time consuming for him. So.
I do appreciate it. I just don't know how to react.
No,
Okay,
no.
very good.
So that's a great segue into the track itself. So, because it actually it is kind of funny to hear. I wouldn't have even like. I mean, obviously we know. I met Claudia personally, and basically the first time I saw her play, I was like, "Oh, okay, you just like
Yeah.
you're you're
Yeah.
just an absolute pro." And so,
Exactly.
and so, like, but I didn't think of it in terms of like kind of a culmination of some of these influences. That's actually kind of neat. But so now let's segue to the track. So now you've known us for a little while. Like you've been in like a number of projects. You've done some shows here in the region, and a couple of dudes like reach out and they're like, "Hey, like we wrote the song, and you should come to a basement and record your fiddle and be on this record." Like what initially were your thoughts there, and like what were your initial thoughts?
Browsing our flair, actually.
So on the light note of that, like the amount of sketchy things I've done to play music with people is it's just we,
That one. Lincoln is dying, my sister.
the and you guys know me enough a little bit by now. Like I'm a very innocent, like naive personality. So I'm like, yeah, like this will be great. Like there's no bad thing that could come out of this. And
my gosh.
bless my husband, he's always like, she'll be fine. I don't, he just doesn't worry about it. Like, I tell him, hey, I met these people in Fort Dodge. They want me to come record, and I don't know who they are, and you don't either. And it's like, okay, that's fine.
I'm a big Kevin fan,
It's
Yeah, big Kevin fan. You get
yeah,
We're big, no, I'm trying.
all big.
We're big Kevin fans on the podcast.
Yeah, love
Yeah,
Kevin.
big Kevin fans for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it hasn't, I haven't had anything terrible happen going with my gut with those things just yet. But let's see, back to the question that you asked. What was the question you asked?
Oh,
Sorry.
so basically, like thinking back again, like we knew each other obviously, but like not
Yeah.
like we weren't like hanging out, and all of a sudden we just kind of present the song to you. I think we might have just like sent you the file and said, "Hey, is this something you'd be willing to play on?" Like, what was that initial reaction?
Oh yeah. Okay. So obviously, like I knew of you guys and knew your reputation in the music scene in Fort Dodge. So I was so pumped to like just to have the opportunity. Yeah, and just like shocked that you would even ask me to be a part of it. So super excited about it. I always put a lot of pressure on myself. Like I said, it's your artwork. So like the opportunity to interject kind of my piece to that is like I put a lot of pressure on that. Like what does the song already sound like? What does this song need? What do you guys need from me in this song? So it's always like a super excited, and then they're like, okay, like I really got to study this piece and really listen for what I think it's wanting from the fiddle or from the violin part on that. So yeah, so I'd say initial reaction was just yeah, really grateful for the opportunity and excited to be a part of your art. So
Just out of curiosity on my end, what did you think of the song itself when you first heard it? Were you kind of immediately like kind of hearing like where you thought there could be fiddle, or was it kind of like, man, I don't know. Did it put you on your heels? I'm curious what you thought.
yeah, I think because it had just been so long since I had done that process, and like I said, there's a lot more weight when you're doing a recorded project, in my opinion, versus like, if we're jamming somewhere, like you play it, people hear it, and then it's over. Where this, like, hopefully, yeah, hopefully people are going to hear this for years and years, and thousands of people are going to hear it, and all those things. So I put a lot more stake into like what I'm doing. So initially, I remember when I got that song again because it had been a while. That instrumental piece in the middle was longer than I was expecting. So, trying to draw out, like wanting to get to kind of a climax of the musical moment in there, and then coming back off of it, but figuring out the timing of what sounded right for that song was a little bit of a challenge for me. Yeah, so just musically trying to find what flowed. It wasn't like the craziest song, that I've ever done, but it was definitely a little bit of a challenge, I would say. Just because structurally you guys are a little bit more creative, I would say, than some of the, like you said, the standard country music that maybe I play on a regular basis.
And so I was gonna throw it to you, Alex, because I admittedly was not here when you actually came to the studio,
Yeah.
and I had heard obviously in post and like afterwards in conversations where you were like, yeah, like I sat with it, like I wrote a part, and then all of a sudden like y'all got to the studio and um so can you kind of take me through like was
Yeah.
there um
My memory from this is pretty vivid, actually. Claudia came in pretty much had a very clear idea of like I think we already maybe had even talked before the session. It's like we definitely need you to cover this bridge and maybe do some stuff on the way out.
Yeah.
So we kind of had a game plan, which helped. And Claudia came in with a pretty clear idea for that solo section. I think we gave it 2 or 3 passes at it, and we're happy with the last one. And then from there, I remember we just kind of went back and forth on that last chorus because we wanted some fill-in work between your vocal phrases, and so that was kind of fun to collaborate on.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how much you were prepared for that or not. Maybe you
Yeah.
can say more about that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I came in definitely with an idea or two of what I wanted to do in the instrumental section and towards the end. But I mean, whether it's this project or any project, I always appreciate when I come in, you'll generally be like, there's this one note I'm hearing in this one spot that maybe I didn't, that wasn't where I was going with it. But then being able to like go through that a couple times and trying, that one, whatever adjustment that might be in your head, I always appreciate those pieces. Or like you said, when we're adding in just little bits here and there throughout a verse or a chorus. I love to get the feedback of like this is the specific thing that I'm hearing there, and then try to make that happen on my instruments. Yeah, I love that.
And so, how do you feel like when you were sitting and composing this piece before you came in versus what you now hear, like when you stream the finished product? Like, how different or similar is it?
She's probably like, I've never listened to the song.
Lies, lies. This is like one of them. I love to share this one with people because I am really proud of how it turned out, because I'm right there with you. Like I feel like we kind of like collaboratively nailed like putting those pieces together. So I have listened to it and I've shared it. Yeah, I feel
It's
like
nice as a pro. It's nice to have a recent reference recording as it is.
right,
So
right.
something you can always send in your little press junket when you're trying to book your song.
Exactly, exactly, for sure. I'll be like, so if you just listen to the violin part, if you just listen to the violin part on this one, that's me. But
If we got it mixed to Nashville, you could say you're a Nashville recording artist. But for now, you're
heck
just gonna have
yeah,
to be a Fort Dodge recording artist. I'm sorry.
darn, that's all right. Off.
Hard times.
And it's so like, and I did this actually pretty recently. I'm not going to out anyone, but anytime I get like a really really like sweet message about the song or about your performance specifically, I always try to like share it with at least
Mhm.
both of you, if not, just because it is one of those things where like this song, no matter what it is, and again, we always at the beginning of each episode remind people to go listen to it if they haven't.
Yeah.
But or if they haven't in a while.
That's
But, like
Reference point. Yeah.
that for some reason this one always comes back where people are like, this like brought up a memory, or this like made me remind something, and like and I truly do. I think it's that like next voice that you haven't heard and you won't hear in the rest of the project. That's like there's some, to your point, it's like melodic, but it's like haunting, but it's also like a
And very nostalgic
yeah,
melody that you kind of came up with, I would say.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
immediately, I almost just like my brain just like goes to the Shire for some reason. It just
yeah,
makes me think of a beautiful landscape, which is I mean the song's called Rivertown, so I think it's right on the nose. It's perfect.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and I do have to say, I think the one of my favorite parts of the whole record is coming out of that quiet verse, like where it almost goes down to nothing,
Mhm.
and then you get like one beat, and then it's all back, and
Yeah.
the fiddle is leading the way, like
Yeah.
it is just completely like driving that ship, and it kind of like, yeah, it's just very very to me, I thought it was just so artfully done, and like I said,
Cathartic. Cathartic's another good word.
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I love that part of that song too. Yeah, I love that part of that song too. Like you said, where it comes down and then it comes back in so full. Those are like when you hear a live band play and they have a moment like that, those are the moments that give you chills. And even in a recording, especially the first time you hear it, I feel like that done well is a piece that can really hang on. I lost it.
Oh,
Fun talking about something heartfelt here. Anyways, I feel like that's one of those parts that can really evoke emotion from somebody, or from your listener. is when you have a moment like that that's done well. So I agree. I thought that was, but again, it's all those artistic pieces coming together, and working out just right. Like that's a huge part of it.
Definitely,
Cool.
definitely.
So yeah, before we wrap it up, I guess there was no script to this, by the way. We're making it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, before we wrap this up, what are you like looking forward to this summer? Or, like, do you have any cool projects coming up, or any like stuff with any of the groups you're working on that you're excited about?
Yeah. So, Jared Benson's working on his second album here, so that's one of the newest, biggest projects we're working on. Other than that, I'm just really
Yeah, believe that.
We'll bleep the band names.
Yeah.
okay.
There's
Okay.
no spoilers. Yeah, if you mention a band that's not us, then we'll just bleep it.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. I'm excited for the next Stadium Drive project. Whether or whether or not I'm in it, I don't know, but I'm excited about it.
Well, we got to talk
Um,
about that after we get
Yeah,
up.
stay on the call after this.
okay. Besides that, honestly, just getting out after, especially after the winter months and the slower months, just getting out and performing. I'm having a lot more opportunities to get. I'll be back in the Fort Dodge area quite a bit this year, but more in the Des Moines scene. I've gotten into Omaha this year. I think the one of my bands is going over to Illinois. I think we have a show in Kentucky coming up in the fall. So
Back some whiskey.
yeah, getting yes.
Yes.
Getting to open for some big name country artists. Yeah, it's gonna be a good year of experiences, I think. And anytime I get an opportunity to play music with other people, it's a great day for me. So I feel like I have a lot of upcoming opportunities to do that, and looking forward to it.
Amen to that. Love it. Love it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining the Silly Project. Again, we really appreciate you, and we wanted to showcase you. We thought that this was just a really like particularly special part in the project, and project we're certainly very proud of. But you just elevated it to a different level. So
And just like, no, I'm just blowing smoke up your ass. This is definitely probably the most highly complimented song
yep. Oh,
on my end as well. So,
for sure.
yeah.
I appreciate
Thank
that.
you for being on it. It's been awesome.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks, Noddy.
Yeah.
Talk soon.
Awesome. Yeah. Have a good night.
Okay, bye.
Awesome. Well, thank you to Claudia. And again, thank you for joining us. We are moving right along through
Yeah.
the record. That was episode 4. Again, you can listen to all the past episodes on the page here. Tune in next time. Oh, I guess I should mention, if you do want a vinyl, we've got vinyls and CDs that are available. But otherwise, yeah, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thanks, guys.
Love you.